Imagine the world at war. Bombs are falling, borders are sealed, and the silence from a loved one on the front line is a deafening, terrifying void. In the darkest days of World War II, a single letter could be a lifeline, a beacon of hope in a sea of despair. But how do you get that letter across enemy territory? This is the story of a woman who risked everything, not with a gun, but with a pen, a bicycle, and unwavering courage. This is the story of Marie, a spy who smuggled hope. In the early 1940s, France was fractured. The North, occupied by Nazi Germany. The South, the so-called free zone under the Vichy regime. Between them lay the demarcation line, a heavily guarded border that severed families, friends, and lovers. For the thousands of French soldiers held as prisoners of war in Germany, and for their families back home, communication was virtually impossible. The official channels were censored, slow, and unreliable. The emotional toll was immense. Wives didn't know if their husbands were alive. Parents prayed for a word from their sons. The uncertainty was a weapon in itself, designed to crush morale. But in the small town of La Rochefoucauld, nestled right on this dividing line, a young social worker named Marie-Madeleine Fourcade refused to accept this cruel silence. Before the war, she was a wife and mother, living a comfortable life. But the invasion of her country ignited a fire within her. She joined the French resistance, driven by a fierce patriotism and a deep empathy for her fellow citizens. She quickly rose through the ranks, eventually leading a massive intelligence network codenamed Alliance, which the Gestapo chillingly called Noah's Ark because its agents used animal codenames. Marie-Madeleine, codenamed Hedgehog, was a brilliant strategist. She understood that winning a war wasn't just about military intelligence. It was about sustaining the human spirit. She saw the anguish in the faces of the people around her and knew something had to be done. So, alongside her espionage activities, she orchestrated one of the most daring and compassionate covert operations of the war, a clandestine postal service. Her plan was simple in concept but incredibly dangerous in execution. The goal was to collect letters from families in the unoccupied zone, smuggle them across the demarcation line into the occupied zone, and then use a network of contacts to get them into Germany and the POW camps. Then, they would reverse the process, bringing letters from the soldiers back home. It was a mission of hope, a defiant act of humanity against an inhuman regime. The couriers were the backbone of this operation. They were ordinary people turned heroes, farmers, shopkeepers, students, and priests. Many were women, who often aroused less suspicion than men. They would hide the letters in the hollowed-out frames of their bicycles, in baskets of vegetables, sewn into the linings of their coats, or even tucked inside loaves of bread. Every crossing was a gamble. The German patrols were ruthless. Checkpoints were frequent and unpredictable. Being caught with clandestine mail meant immediate arrest, interrogation, torture, and often deportation to a concentration camp from which few returned. One of the most remarkable couriers was a young woman named Jeannie de Clerones. Before the war, she was a literature student. Now, her sharp mind and steady nerves were her greatest assets. Day after day, she would cycle towards the line, her heart pounding with every pedal stroke. She learned the guards' routines, the hidden paths through the forests, and the moments when a patrol might be distracted. She once described the feeling of approaching a checkpoint as having ice in her veins, forcing a calm smile while her bag contained dozens of letters, each one a potential death sentence. The letters themselves were a universe of human emotion, a mother's prayer for her son's safety, a wife's updates on their children, describing a first step or a lost tooth, tiny moments of life that felt a world away. a young woman's declaration of love, promising to wait, no matter how long it took. And from the camps, the soldiers wrote back. They wrote about the monotonous, grueling life, but mostly, they wrote about home. They asked about the harvest, the health of an elderly parent, the little details that connected them to the life they longed to return to. These letters were more than paper and ink. They were proof of existence, a tangible link to love and a reason to keep fighting, to keep surviving. Marie-Madeleine Fourcade orchestrated this intricate web from the shadows. She was constantly on the move, changing safe houses, using false identities, and living with the crushing weight of responsibility for her agents. The Gestapo was always closing in. Twice she was captured, and twice she managed a miraculous escape. The second time, imprisoned and awaiting execution, the small-statured woman, stripped naked, covered her body in soap, and squeezed through the bars of her cell window, a feat of sheer desperation and will. She was a ghost, a phantom the Nazis couldn't hold. Her leadership was defined by this blend of steel and heart. While she was directing agents gathering crucial military intelligence for the Allies' information that helped plan the DID landings, she was also ensuring that a farmer's wife in a remote village received a letter from her husband. She understood that these two missions were part of the same fight, the fight for freedom and the fight for the soul of her nation. The Alliance network paid a heavy price. Of its 3,000 agents, over 400 were executed or died in captivity. But their sacrifice was not in vain. They smuggled thousands upon thousands of letters. It's impossible to count the exact number, but each one delivered was a victory. Each letter that reached its destination was a blow to the enemy's psychological warfare. It was a reminder that even when walls and wires divided them, the people of France were not broken. Their bonds of family and community could not be severed. The stories that emerged are incredible. A soldier, having received no word for 2 years, was on the brink of despair. Then, a smuggled letter arrived from his wife, containing a photo of the daughter he had never met. That photo, he later said, is what kept him alive. A young couple, separated by the war, continued their courtship through Marie-Madeleine's secret mail service. Their letters, a testament to love's endurance under the most impossible circumstances. They were eventually reunited after the liberation. This wasn't just about personal comfort. This operation had a strategic impact. It boosted morale on both the home front and among the prisoners. A soldier who knows his family is thinking of him, that they are safe and waiting, has a stronger will to live. A family that receives word from the front lines can better endure the hardships of occupation. It was a quiet, powerful form of resistance that sustained the spirit of a nation. After the war, Marie-Madeleine Fourcade's story, and the stories of her brave couriers, were largely overlooked for decades. The grand narratives of battles and generals overshadowed these quieter acts of heroism. But true courage isn't always found on the battlefield. It's found in the heart of a young woman cycling into the dark, a bundle of letters hidden in her basket. It's found in the resolve of a leader who escapes from prison to continue her mission. It's found in the simple, profound act of connecting to people who love each other against all odds. The story of Marie-Madeleine Fourcade and her clandestine postal service is a powerful reminder that in times of conflict, the most potent weapons can be empathy, ingenuity, and hope. They fought a war with words, delivering not intelligence reports, but love letters, and in doing so, they helped save the soul of France. Thank you so much for joining us to uncover this incredible piece of hidden history. If you were moved by the courage of these unseen heroes, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories of the psychology and humanity behind history. greatest conflicts. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.